My name is Stephanie Kramer. I am the librarian at the International School of Dakar, and I have my student Rhonda here with me. Hi. And we are in Wakam. We're at the Divinity Mosque, so we're standing right by the ocean and get a chance to listen to the waves. Look at this cutie pie waving at us. Okay, so shall we walk and talk about the book?
Sure.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start with question number one. What did you think about the book? You said you gave it a thumbs up. Can you tell us why?
I really liked the book because it opened my perspective on how it was actually to be an African American, because I'm only familiar with the African part of it. So it was interesting for me to know more about like the struggles of being African and American, and like, yeah, so it was very interesting.
What African country do you come from?
I actually come from 3 countries, Togo, Benin, and Ghana.
Okay.
So those are my...
West African?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what particularly stood out as far as the plot was concerned? Obviously we probably should talk about Black Lives Matter. Very much inspires the writing of that book. Was there anything that stood out to you from that particular perspective?
I had heard about police violence towards particularly Black people and things like that. I've read about it on the internet and everything. So having something as physical as a book that spoke about it without trying to like sugarcoat it, or without trying to like make it pretty or make it politically correct or anything, was very beneficial for me, because I could just see the raw, effects of that, of police brutality and of discrimination and of racism, and how that could have, like, that has a lot of bad effects on society, not only like the American society but the world society, but also the good things that the main character could take from it and could learn from it. So it was very inspiring to me.
So one of the things that happens in this story is that she is a young Black girl who comes from, I believe the community is called Garden Heights, and she ends up going to a predominantly white school, or a school with tremendous affluence that her family doesn't necessarily possess. You've also come to a school with a lot of tremendous affluence. Do you find any parallels between yourself and Star? In terms of the schooling and education you get?
Yes, because I know a lot of people that do not get the chance to get like an education, like a good education like I'm getting at ISD. I know a lot of people that don't have that opportunity, and yeah, I live around them, and it's very good to think about, like, to stop a moment and be grateful about that. So yeah, I do relate to her when it comes to that, but there are a lot of differences too, because I personally don't feel like changing who I am when I'm around people at ISD, because it's a mixed community. It's not just one type of people and then me.
Right. She does what is called code switching. So when she's with her white friends, she behaves one way, and then when she's with her Black community, she behaves another. And you just said you don't feel the need to do any changing. Do you take that position because there is no need to do that kind of changing, or because you just won't do that kind of changing, in spite of the fact that there might be a need?
I don't think I would, but if I was put in that her particular situation, I completely understand why she would feel the need to change herself, change the way she speaks and all that, because there are labels, and people could very easily portray her or see her as something that she's not, just because of stereotypes and ways people in general, like how uneducated people are on other people, on people that are different from them, or people who see things a different way than they do.
Most of her friends can't relate to her post about Khalil and Black Lives Matter, particularly her friend Haley. Anything to say about Haley?
Oh, I remember when I read the book, I did not like her from the from the beginning. I thought she was very closed-minded. She didn't want to open herself to like see things on, like put herself in other people's shoes sometimes. I feel like she's a very selfish person, but I think that also comes from something else. I don't think there's a black and white way of seeing it or of saying it, but I feel like she could have made a lot more efforts in understanding her friend as a friend, you know? Yeah, so like...
Yeah, there's a Haley. Do we feel like the Haley? What could we do with the Haleys of the world? The Haleys of the world are always going to be present in our lives. Because at one point Haley apologizes for the way Star feels, and I feel like what Haley should apologize for is saying really insensitive things.
I think what we should do with the Haleys of the world is educate them. Like that's the only thing we can do, because Haley just doesn't know, or she just doesn't want to know, and at some point she has to like view things, open her eyes and see things as they actually are. So all she needs is education, because she grew up in this bubble where she didn't really know how things were going on outside that bubble because she has this privilege. So I feel like all we can do about Haley, instead of like maybe like
Hating her.
Yeah, hating her or doing things that would trigger her or anything, is just educate her about, you know, those things that she obviously knows nothing about.
She's never been to Star's neighborhood.
Exactly.
She's never been to Star's home.
Yes.
She's never been to anything outside of her very kind of sheltered, safe, high-class life. Okay, let's move on to another character that I happen to love, Chris, the white boyfriend. Oh, anything to say there?
About Chris, when I first started reading the chapters that were involving Chris, I first felt like the author was trying to make us be like, okay, this is how white boys are supposed to like behave. They're not supposed. At first, I felt like she was saying they're not supposed to have a voice. They're just supposed to like not say anything and just understand everything, which is not possible. But then as I, you know,
why is that not possible?
I don't think anyone can just understand somebody's situation or understand fully what you are going through unless they go through it too. So I think Chris was really doing his best to show how much he appreciated Star and how much he cared for her. And he might have tripped on a lot of little things, but I think overall he had, like, at some point I realized he had good intentions. And I like the fact that every time he would do something that was not correct, Star would make sure she would like tell him about it and all that.
Like what, for instance?
I remember I think he wears Jordans, yeah. He wears, Jordans. And
that competition that they have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like they called him, that was the first time I heard the word. They called him a Uyghur. I don't know if it's appropriate.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I personally won't say it, but go ahead.
Okay, so they called him that, and they were like, they were saying that he just wanted to be black, and a lot of people would agree with that. A lot of people call it cultural appropriation. But that's not, personally, I don't think that's a thing that I believe in, because I think that as long as he's not calling it his, he's just appreciating like something from another culture, and I think that's okay, as long as you don't like appropriate it like the actual term says. Yeah.
Those and they seemed to successfully bridge those cultural differences.
Yeah.
And he, of course, he is the only one from the school who has come to her neighborhood.
Yes.
And met the family.
Yes.
Yeah. He's brave. I like Chris.
Yeah.
Good boyfriend material.
Yeah. He is.
Okay, I feel like that wraps up our. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for participating in the conversation. And any last words, or are we done?
I think I'm done.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, one more last word. Did you know that